before you start, can I ask a question?
Right.
Me or him?
Him. So, how has your Alicization been? Have you gotten it checked out? Or have you gotten some shots?
Alicization.
Or some antibiotics for your Alicization?
Alicization.
Alicization.
You didn't answer the question!
You didn't! What the fuck?
How is your Alicization?
I'm getting there.
I hope it's not infected.
きっと約束だよいつかまた同じ笑顔で
Welcome one and all to the box, the NA Chat Box, of course. I'm your host this week, Craigus von Maximus III Esquire. This is episode 87, and I hope you all are having a wonderful evening, and I'm not alone. We are going to do our impressions round 2. So, starting us off, to my immediate right, we have the extraordinaire producer, Cass.
Yo.
On the East Coast, we have the precious cinnamon roll of the podcast, Kimi.
Hello, everybody.
And across the Great Lake, we have the gentleman of the podcast, JoJo.
Hello. Triangles are my favorite shape,
Are they?
apparently.
Okay.
I'll get to it.
Wait, oh,
All right.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, shit, I know what it is. Damn it, John.
What?
He'll explain in due time.
Yes.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Aw.
Speaking of a few of our favorite things, social media is one of them. Twitter.com/AnyChatbox for all your short form inquiries. You can hit us up in long form at anychatmail@gmail.com. You can also find us on multiple podcast services around the globe, such as iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. We also have a YouTube. Feel free to leave us a review on any of these platforms. That way we can read your review on the air if we have one.
Sad thing is we have some emails. We just probably should get to them eventually.
Maybe one day, if you feel like it and remember. Maybe you could do it next week.
Soon.
Ooh.
Soon.
And if you find it within your hearts of hearts to donate to our Patreon, hit us up on patreon.com/AnyChatbox. Peruse the tiers, see what you like, and what have you. Also, want to get this out of the way real quick. I'm a part of a all-media podcast, a podcast extraordinaire called Save Our Progress. SoundCloud.com/Save Our Progress. Twitter.com/Save Our Progress. Last week, we talked about Spider-Man, and Paul is writing a novel for November Novel Month, and it was the Sleepy Cast, so it was pretty chill. And I talked about Deltarune, y'all, so get hyped for that. As I said before, we're going to continue our impressions of the fall 2018 season, so to kick us off, I shall do my first impression. It will go to John, then Cass, then Cammy, and then we'll circle back around and we'll continue this on. Me and John are going to talk about 3 shows today, and the lovely ladies are going to talk about 2, kind of as the trade-off from last week. So, again, first and foremost, we're going to talk about the greatest anime of 2016. Finally got a sequel season. I joke when I say greatest anime of 2016. Thunderbolt Fantasy! Sword Seekers 2!
You're not joking at all. You believe every word you say.
I really do. Fun fact about this, when I was trying to pull up show information, I remembered how hard it was to find show information for the show because my anime list doesn't have any entries for this. Kitsu is bare bones, and the Wikipedia, well, it doesn't have a separate entry for season 2. So the studios are Good Smile Company, Nitro Plus, and Pili international multimedia, what have they done? Well, Taiwanese puppetry, such as the puppet show Peely, Good Smile Company. They make the Nendroids and all that sort of stuff. We talked about this before. Post-choice, people liked it to varying degrees. So basically, I have the synopsis for season 1 written down here, but I'm going to forgo that. I'm going to throw that out the window and just say basically, if you've seen Thunderbolt Fantasy season 1, it ends off basically on a good note, and this is not so much trying to find a band of misfits to save the country, but Shangbu Huan, our protagonist, is kind of on the run. He's trying to secure a artifact and try to hide it and keep it out of harm's way, and malicious people are trying to use that for their own nefarious purposes. And along the way, you have the enigmatic Gale that's trying to follow him because he finds him amusing, as well as a friend from his home country that he runs across. His name's Long. And basically, it's them trying to take this artifact and make sure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. In the first 3 episodes, I find that the production of the show has been dialed up to 11. The way that it's shot, the puppetry itself, it seems more fluid. There's a lot more practical effects rather than use of CG. The camera work is so extreme and exaggerated to the point where they do close-up shots of their face, their eyes, their face. They do hair motions to make them look beachy and hot. It's so weird. I've heard this called art by Zach from Save Our Progress, and Dom is watching this weekly as well and agrees to this. It is the most fun that I'm having this season. Every episode, it just gets better and better, and the crazy amount of shit that happens is insane, and I can't wait to share it all with you. So this show proudly swims to try and secure this artifact and hide it away.
Good to hear.
I've been meaning to make a star on it.
Now, I was kind of hesitant to pass this season because, again, it's a sequel. But you know what? It's so enjoyable, and we don't have an episode confirmation on how many it will be, but I feel as though they'll probably wrap it up within 12 episodes. But it's fun. It's really fun. Next to Gridman, they give me 2 different sort of feelings. One is very polished, and one is just like, oh my god, the ridiculous nature of this show. Holy fuck, it's so good.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. John, what do you have for us?
Hello. So,
Don't sound so excited, John.
So, my first anime of the evening this season is Ingress the Animation.
Triangles are my favorite shape.
Yep.
So that's it.
Also
Yeah,
known as the hardest anime to actually watch of fall 2018. I almost said 2019. We're not there yet. Jesus.
Fun fact, Netflix.
Yeah, it's been claimed by Netflix, but even then, normally I have a way of watching it. I almost had to drop this by default, because I struggled to actually find a way to watch it and then actually get that way to work. But anywho, I was able to watch it. It hasn't been dropped by default. It is by Crafter Studios. What have they done? A 2-episode thing called Sotai Sekai, and they are working on something called Ashita Sekai ga Owaru Toshitemo, which is a 1-episode thing that comes out next year, and a bunch of really, really kiddie things, I guess. But yeah. So the synopsis goes: a project was launched where scientists discovered a mysterious substance that can interface directly with the human brain. This substance, called exotic matter, XM, has existed since ancient times, influencing human minds and the progress of humanity. In the wake of its discovery, a battle of powerful nations and corporate giants has been unleashed. Organizations across the globe have embarked on a secret race to exploit XM. It represents both an opportunity and a threat to humanity. Two factions seek to control the XM. The enlightened view XM's power as a gift that enhances human experience and discovery. The resistance sees XM as a hostile takeover of the human mind, choosing technology as humanity's best path forward. XM and the mystery behind it lie at the center of this battle for the fate of humanity. 2018, now a single struggle is about to unfold in Tokyo and across the globe. Dangerous and powerful forces seeking to exploit the potential of XM will collide. This groundbreaking project will mark the beginning of an epic augmented reality experience containing 3 elements of animation, location-based gaming, and the real world. So, yeah, when I signed up for this, I was like, Ingress, that sounds so familiar. And then I watched it, and then the Niantic logo came up, and I was like, oh yeah, prototype Pokemon Go.
Yep.
But yeah, the triangles thing, in the intro song, they say triangles are my favorite shape.
There are multiple triangles on screen, might I add.
Well, there are multiple triangles on the
times.
screen, and that is actually because you form territories between 3 points of captured locations. Like Pokestops in Pokemon Go. If you capture 3 of them, it creates a triangle-shaped territory of your color, which is where the triangles come in. So this series was had a lot going against it. I will give it that benefit. Again, I struggled to get the subtitles work. When I did, it was like someone took the entire script, chucked it into Google Translate, and called it a day.
That's gross.
And then once I actually finally got it all working and watched it, it was CG.
Oh no!
Yay! I mean, admittedly, the actual animation of the CG wasn't too bad, but it just looks bad.
Yeah.
And then I will admit what little of the plot I could understand, I'm going to do terrible justice, but then I discovered that they're effectively just playing prototype Pokemon Go. Only it gives them superpowers, like the ability to read the memories of objects people own, or see the world in entirely different ways, or predict the future, or...
So it's like Mirai Nikki and Pokemon Go.
Had a CG ugly animated baby.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. And so... I can't swim this. I cannot swim this. I was thinking of
sure?
like, once it comes out on Netflix, like rewatching the first 3 episodes, see if I make any more sense of it with actual decent subtitles. But you know what? I there's better ways I can waste my time. So, yeah, this is going to sink. What can it sink into? There's a third color of the XM, which is red chaotic XM, and apparently contact with it it's so bad it can actually hurt you physically, and it can kill people. So it sinks into the chaotic red XM. Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Let's go with that.
Is it bad the entire time you were saying that? I was like, so is it like chaotic neutral? Is it
Chaotic neutral.
Is this
Lawful
D&D?
good.
Like
Neutral.
Lawful good.
I prefer my XM to be lawful good.
Oh, God.
Normally it's green and blue. Green is resistance was the blue one, and green was enlightened. That was it. Green was enlightened, and blue is resistance.
Okay.
What's your favorite idea? Mine's being creative.
Oh, not bad. Not bad.
Well, how'd you get that idea? Just had to think creatively.
Oh my fucking God.
Green is not a creative color.
Stop it.
Thank you for knowing where I was going, John. Love you, boo.
Anywho, yes. Onwards to
Cass.
Yes, on to Cass.
On to me. Cool.
Yes.
All right, so today I will be talking about Irozuku Sekai no Ashita Kara, also known as IRODUKU, or also known as IRODUKU, The World in Colors. This one is animated by Studio PA Works, also known as I'm Too Pretty to Know for My Own Good Works, basically. They have done some really cool stuff. Some stuff that I really would love to see, such as Hanasaku Iroha. I really need to finish that one eventually. They also did Shirobako, which I have yet to finish, and every time I mention it, my lovely significant other asks why I'm trying to hurt them. So I was honest with them too. I was like, honestly, at this rate, I'm just waiting for Cammy to make it one of her host choice. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
I didn't think about that.
Well, now you have.
You're giving her ideas.
I mean, I've heard Shirobako's really good, so I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. It was really popular in the community, so. Anyway, and they also did Nagi no Asukara, which is a show that I fucking adore and loved. So they are kind of hit and miss. They've also done things such as Charlotte and Angel Beats, which left a pretty bad taste in my mouth. So when you're watching a PA Works show, you're only guaranteed one thing, and that's basically that it's going to be super pretty. Whether it's going to be interesting, engaging, or actually good is kind of up to a coin flip. So, before we get into what I actually think, I'm going to go ahead and set the mood with the synopsis. Set in the city of Nagasaki, the story takes place in a world where a minuscule amount of magic remains in everyday life. Hitomi Tsukishiro is a 17-year-old descendant of a witch family who grew up with stale emotions, as she lost her sense of color at a very young age. Feeling sorry for her granddaughter's future, Kohaku, a great witch, sends Hitomi to the past, to the year 2018. Dun, 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 dun. What a terrible year to send your child
Yeah,
to.
woof.
I mean, I guess this is Japan, so it might be a little bit better. Anyway, through exchanges with her 17-year-old grandmother and her club members, the story follows Hitomi's growth as a person. So, this is a coming-of-age story. The first episode, I'm not gonna lie, I immediately wrote this show off. I was so fucking bored. And it didn't help that I had watched this show after I'd watched two other slow shows, which varied in degrees of interest, really. I had watched Bloom Into You episodes 1 and 2 at this point, I believe, and I had also watched episode 1 of Bunny Girl Senpai, both of which start out pretty slow and dry. Whether you think that's a good or bad thing, up to you, and we may discuss later. But by the time I got to Iroduku, I was kind of wanting anything except the slow burn, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what I got. And unfortunately, the first episode was one of the most boring starts of the season. Mm-hmm. However, I got to the second episode, ironically, when I was on the train going downtown to see everybody for the con a couple weeks ago. And I watched it because I was like, might as well get it out of the way. And I watched episode 2, and I really, really liked episode 2 a whole lot. I
Nice.
think that episode 1 set up a lot of things, and they set up a lot of things very quickly. For example, Kohaku's grandmother sending her to the past happens. Kohaku's the name of her witch grandmother. Sorry, Hitomi. Sending Hitomi to the past happens kind of out of nowhere. She's watching some fireworks and her grandma's like, "Hey, bitch, I'm sending you to the past." And she's like, "Wait, what?" And then that's basically where you are as the viewer as well. She wakes up in a boy's house. I gotta figure out what his name was. But she basically wakes up in this dude's house, leaves, and a pair of girls see her and take photos of her leaving the house and a video of her leaving his house, show it to him and say, "Hey, who's your girlfriend?" And he's like, "Bitch broke into my house. I gotta call the cops." So there's this very interesting setup between this male character and Hitomi from the very beginning that I thought was going to be handled very poorly, because starting a show off with a misunderstanding is almost always the worst way to go. However, that gets solved relatively quickly, and they both start to figure out things about each other very slowly and through osmosis of both of their talents that they're both very, I don't know how to put this, they're both very, I don't know, they're not very sure of themselves about. So the boy is very good at art, which is interesting to Hitomi because she can't see colors, but she can see colors in his paintings. And he, once he gets us to see a little bit of her magic, says, he thinks that her magic is beautiful and that he'd love to see more of it. And she hates using magic for a number of reasons that I think are going to be explored in the show. And they both kind of nurture each other in that way. Also, her having such a dull life and being having such an incapability of communicating with others that color entirely leaves her world is a very interesting premise in and of itself. And I think they're approaching it with care. So, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and swim this one. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I did initially. I don't think it's for everyone, but it's one of the few slow burns that has actually started to actually catch my interest this season.
That's good to hear.
Okay, his name is Yuito. There we go. The boy's name is Yuito. Oh, another thing that's interesting that I forgot to point out, I'm kind of doing this impression like straight out of coming out of a daydream, but she joins a art/photography club, which is really interesting because she can't see color. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking what this show might become is her slowly learning color through different people and their passions. That seems to be where it's going. And it seems to have started with Yuito, and I'm expecting it to expand to other members of the club.
I would really like that. That sounds really fascinating.
That seems to be what they're doing, and that's really what caught me in the second episode, is how quickly things have changed from her being in an alien environment to an environment that is welcoming, where she can make friends that she hasn't had before, and she can slowly start recovering from whatever it is ailing her, that she can't see the beauty in the world. And I think that's fucking great.
Yeah. That does sound like an interesting premise.
It's also gorgeous, so there's that.
Yay.
Awesome.
Right on.
So we'll have fun with it, guys.
Kimmy,
Yeah.
what you got?
I got be prepared to descend into hell for Beelzebub-jou no Okinimesu mama, or as Miss Beelzebub likes it in English and as it is airing on Crunchyroll. To warm you guys up with a little synopsis, Beelzebub is a great demon lord who rules over several millions of demons. Mutin, who decides to serve the demon lord, learns that not only does Beelzebub lack the poise of a great demon, but is also a laid-back girl who likes fluffy things, and as she usually says, mofu mofu. Thus begins the daily life comedy revolving around the many villains of the demon world. This show was animated by Leiden Films, so it's not just Cloverworks who's got 2 shows this season. Leiden Films is hanging out with Kishuku Gakko no Juliet and Beelzebub.
And you got both, girl.
Yeah, I know. I was like, that's coincidental. And they've also done Yamada-kun and the 7 Witches and Pokozudon World, like we mentioned before. So I picked up this show because the promotional poster is like super, super pastel and looked real cute. It had a mixed cast of like boys and girls, and it was just super fluffy looking. And then I saw the trailer, and the trailer also was very pastel and cutesy looking. So I was excited to get something cute. And it's very fluffy, but like almost to a degree that there's like not much going on. Like they sit there for like 2 whole minutes having Beelzebub, this like cute blonde girl in a pink dress, just like touching these little fluffy animals and going mofu mofu while she like tries to wake up, and then she eats a cream puff, and then she's like laying in bed with the fluffy things, and it's like, oh, okay, there's not really much here, is there? What I think makes the show interesting is some of the little romance dynamics. Her like right hand command guy Murin is super cute. He's one of those types that I think Cassie likes. Like, think the green-haired kid in what was it? Tsurezure Children. Like, he just gets really flustered like really easily.
Aww.
And is super cute, and I think he's like super precious. And there's like a really cute moment in episode 1 where she wanders off and gets lost, and he has to come protect her. And then he does that anime thing where he like kind of punches like the top of a wall and then like kind of boxes her in, and then like you think he's gonna be mean, but he literally just starts crying and he's like, I was so worried, and then he runs off. And then she's just like, oh, that made me so flustered. And it's just really like cute. They have a fun little dynamic, which I really like. And as the show goes forward, you see that that's kind of the pattern that they have, where we meet other various attendants of hell, these other demons who have their own personality quirks, and then they're kind of paired off with another person that usually is polar opposite in some degree. There's also like a playboy type who has like a sadistic like female attendant that just like, you know, will trap him in ropes and make sure he gets his job done and stuff. Yeah, and then in episode 2, I was introduced to my favorite character, who is very much, Cassie would get this, he's very much like my favorite prince in the royal tutor. So he is just like, I don't think he even talks in this case. Like, he has a little sketch pad where he'll write words, and he is in love with cute things. And he orders like these pancakes that are shaped like a bear's face. Like, he gets little Kuma pancakes. And I loved him so much. And I was like, wow, this show is really enjoyable. What could ruin it? And then we meet Belphegor. And let me just tell you a little bit about Belphegor, who is the foil to the cute boy. So that would mean that she is in the show frequently. So she is a cute little girl. She has the very, very shy stereotype, which I'm already not a huge fan of, like where they're like too shy to function. And she can like barely talk. But like, not only can she barely talk, and of course she has this little like wispy voice, but not only can she like not talk, she's so afraid of strangers, and her anxiety gets so out of hand that she can't help but have to urinate. So she always is running off to the bathroom, because you know what's high class and enjoyable pee jokes, especially at the expense of a girl's embarrassment. And I was like, wow, show, you just, yeah, that. It was a real disappointment, and the rest of the show does have a weird, slight, like, ecchi vibe to it. It's really weird, because it's, like, trying so hard to be, like, super cute, and then it's, like, weirdly ecchi in spots, and, like, it comes off in a really, really strange way. And while I haven't met these characters yet, there's also inklings of a, like, Shota boy and a girl who's a Shotokan, which I'm not down for. You know, we don't need the other, like, pairing for Maid Dragon again. So it's not like the worst thing that I've ever seen, and sometimes it's kind of funny, like with the cute romance of the characters that I like, but there's a lot that just on the surface like detracts me from this show. So it is going to sink into fluffy clouds that Beelzebub dreams about, because she has to say mofu mofu at least like 15 times per episode.
Mofu mofu.
Mofu mofu. Yeah.
Mofu
Mofu.
Mofu mofu. Except usually she's like, Suki had the best description for the way she looked. She was like, this tits out, sleepy-eyed disposition. And I was like, wow, that's very true. Because she also got good tits. So it's just a weird show. It's just weird.
That sounds aesthetic. I'll take it.
It is. The pastel's so nice. I just wish it was better overall. But, like, it's not the worst thing. Like, you can turn it on when you're, like, folding laundry or something, but it's definitely not for our podcast.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, alrighty then. It runs back to me. This time round, I'm going to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, Golden Wind, otherwise known as JoJo's Part 5, Vento Ario in Italian. Japanese for this is JoJo no Kimyou Bouken Ougon no Kaze. Studios David Productions. What they've done. Cells at Work and Inu X Boku SS.
Hey, I love both of those shows.
Cells at Work is really good. I think I watched an episode of Inu X Boku. I think it's the one with the fox guy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've watched an episode of that. Okay. Synopsis goes as such. Naples, 2001. Giorno Giovanna is a small-time crook with one big dream, to be a gangstar. Not gangster, gangstar. How cool is that? No ordinary thief, Giorno has a connection to the remarkable Joestar bloodline and possesses a stand named Gold Experience. His dream starts to become reality when he meets Bruno Buccialetti, a mobster from the gang Passion, and a fellow stand user himself, realizing that they share similar ideals, and both disagree with the gang's harmful affairs. Giorno reveals his goal to Bruno. With Bruno's help, he will reform Passion by overthrowing their boss. As Giorno becomes a member of Passion and is inducted into Bruno's squad, he discovers that it is no simple gang. Its numbers are teeming with stand users, now confronted by other squads of differing loyalties and unpredictable caliber. Their goal to change the gang from the inside out will be a tough one. Taking on these adversaries, Giorno attempts to rise throughout the ranks and inch closer to the boss, a man who is shrouded in absolute mystery. Okay, so, it's no surprise that I got this show because I really like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I think I'm the one person here that's watched all 4 parts prior to this. That being said, I've said this before, and I'm glad that people are getting into the show. I see that it's getting a lot of good traction, and friend of the show, Ren, is watching this show. Cass has watched a few episodes with Dom. This show is pretty. It's got pretty good production value. It's, again, since their stands are essentially like summon ghosts that all have distinct power sets. Gold Experience can bring stuff to life. Bruno's stand can open up zippers anywhere that he touches, and it continues to go from there. On the first 3 episodes, you find Giorno, he meets Bruno, and then by episode 3, he gets introduced to one of the lieutenants of the gang, and then after that, he's given a test to try and keep a lighter lit for 24 hours. And as the description says, he knows that the gang is kind of crooked, so he's gonna go in from the inside out and try and change it for the better. This show is very fun. I'm watching this week to week. But I'm having an interesting time this season around where I'm like, I have such a good bevy of shows between this guy and the sea withstanding, where 4 of my shows are actually enjoyable and I find them fun. However, I want to try and find something that stands out that I feel as though is the cream of the crop in my tier list. So I'll say this show sinks, but I'm still going to continue to watch this. I recommend it if you want to give it a shot. It, again, has only few winks and nods to the previous parts, 4 parts of it, where Jotaro Kujo shows up, Koichi Hirose from part 4 shows up in a scene or 2. It's fun, but again, it sinks in lieu of other material. It sinks into the ocean, because obviously gangsters, and they gotta have cement bricks to the feet. It's one morbid way to go, but you'll never find the body at the bottom of the ocean now, will you?
Yikes.
Yeah.
I didn't see or hear anything.
Yeah, there you go. I actually should have opened the floor for Cass to say if she had any thoughts about it. Cass, you
I'm
wanna...
curious about your thoughts.
I think it's great. It's well animated. It's fun. I think that the main character is way, in my personal opinion, way more fun than Joseph was, who was the reason I rage quit part 1.
Yeah, Joseph is kind of a special cookie. He's kind of a loud, kind of obnoxious, but that part's supposed to be Indiana Jones Battle Tendency Part 2. It's supposed to be like an exaggerated Indiana Jones with Nazis involved.
I don't know. As far as I got, he was just introduced. So
Yeah.
Anyway, I think what's cool about this season, and some, people who are big fans of JoJo will disagree with me, but I think it's cool that somebody who's not too familiar with the other installments can watch it and get something out of it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Again, they all stand alone.
A lot of major JoJo's fans would say you're wrong, but I don't care. So there you go. If you didn't like previous installments, you could probably watch this one. From what I've been told by people who've read the entirety of the manga, this installment is the least impacting on the entire story as a whole. So
Yeah, because,
So you can get away with probably watching it and not watching the others, if you have any interest in JoJo. The only thing that bothered me is some of the gore.
Mm-hmm.
There was a scene in episode 1 where a guy threw up somebody else's fingers, and that was
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not having that.
Yeah.
mind you, it's subdued since then, so...
Yeah, nothing as bad has happened since then, and I'm basically caught up outside of whatever aired this weekend, so...
There you go.
There's that.
Alright, John, you're up next.
Alright, so, I'm just gonna throw this out there, very quickly. My next 2 series, I was at a point where I'm like, I'm enjoying both of these, but I can't swim both. So I'm just gonna throw that out there very quickly, and I'll get to why. But yeah. The next series I'm going to talk about today is Toaru Majutsu no Index 3, or A Certain Magical Index 3. Season 3, anyway. Tres. It's animated by JC Staff, who did the original 2 series, I believe. Toradora, Hidan no Aria, and Anonatsu de Materu. Figure I'd choose a few that we didn't bring up. So, 3rd season event of Toaru Majutsu no Index is the synopsis on Mal. So, let's go with the season 1 synopsis. Academy City, Japan, is at the forefront of science. Besides being 30 years ahead of the world technologically, more than 3/4 of this peculiar city's population consists of students developing their psychic abilities as experts in various institutions. Among these students is Toma Kamijo, a high school boy with the lowest psychic rank of 0, but with the mysterious power no scientist can understand. Imagine Breaker, which allows him to negate other supernatural abilities. This, however, doesn't affect Kamijo's life in the least, as he plays his role as a regular teenager. That is, until he meets the strange Index Librorum Prohibitorum, a young girl who has memorized the entire forbidden grimoires, and now a dangerous organization is hunting Index down, with several magicians looking to harm the girl. Kimyou will defend his new companion at all costs as he discovers a strange new realm of the supernatural. I am flubbing my words so bad today.
You're fine.
Anywho. So, yeah, this is season 3. Like, a long time coming, admittedly. And, I feel like I should probably have rewatched season 1 and 2 before I started this, because there's a lot I don't remember. And, it tried to play catch up in, like, the first minute of the first episode. Because it literally went, okay, so here's the story. We went from this, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this, and here we are. And so we got, what? What? And they keep referencing something that happened on the 30th, and I'm like, what happened on the 30th? Did I need to watch the movie? Because there was a movie, wasn't there? Or something about a movie? I haven't seen the movie. Am I in trouble for not watching the movie?
God, this sounds...
It sounds like a test you didn't study for.
Yeah, it sounds really messy.
But then, for most of episode 1, it was after that initial, like... okay, this is here we are, and everyone referring to this one particular incident that happened. It was, for the most part, just everyday life in Academy City, and with just like this looming bit of news in the background coming on every so often about riots going on towards Academy City. And then one of the other characters who wears shades, whose name I'm completely blanking on, is like, okay, get in the helicopter, we're going. Wait, helicopter? What? Yeah, we're going to Paris. Alright, okay, now we go. Here we go, jump. We're jumping out of the plane, wait! And then episode 2 starts off with Kimyou drowning because his chute failed. Well, he got caught up in his chute and had to be rescued, and on his own, and is in Paris with people writing, recognizing that he's from Academy City, and It feels like in the next series, it is kind of just picking up where the other series left off, which, again, I haven't seen them for a long time, and that is really hindering it. So I need to go back and rewatch those series before I carry on or restart watching this one. But between this and the other series I've got, this one would require a rewatch of all the previous series. And therefore, that's going to be a lot of episodes. And the other series is going to be a lot of episodes. So I definitely can't swim both. And personally, I'm enjoying the other one more. Okay. And I think there's probably going to be more to discuss about the other one too. So therefore, this one sinks. It sinks into the river that we sadly fell into with a bad chute.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Episode 2. So, yes.
I wasn't aware we were doing any chatbox skydiving, but alright.
But yeah, I mean, neither did Kimyou until he was chunked out of the plane. But yeah, I am still enjoying it. I'm just enjoying the other one more. But we'll get to that next.
Right.
Now it's back to Cassie, I believe.
You are correct.
Cool. So, my last one of the season. Am I the first of the last of the season? Is that what's going on right now?
I believe so, yes.
Fun. All right, so the last one of the season that I get to talk to is Yagate Kimi ni Naru, also known as Bloom Into You. It was animated by Studio Troika. Studio Troika has done a number of pretty neat things. They did Aldnoah Zero, which was not great, but Recreators, I've heard, is pretty fun. And I have a lot of friends who are super into Idolish 7, and from what I know of a few of those shows and what I've seen of others, Troika does some pretty nice, pretty things. Some pretty nice, pretty things. Try saying that 10 times fast. Their animation tends to be pretty good. Their storytelling is up to your cup of tea most of the time. So, that being said, I rolled right into Yagate Kimi ni Naru, which the synopsis is as follows. As follows.
As follows.
I was trying to be so seductive and then I fucked up the last word. Anyway, Yu has always loved shoujo manga and awaits the day she gets a love confession that sends her heart aflutter with bubbles and blushes. And yet, when a junior high classmate confesses his feelings to her, she feels nothing. Disappointed and confused, Yu enters high school, still unsure how to respond. So motherfucker left this poor guy sitting for a few months. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
Let that sink in for a little bit. Anyway, that's when Yu sees the beautiful student council president Nanami turning down a suitor, which with such maturity that she's inspired to ask her for help. Because low-key, Nanami is like the bad bitch at the school everyone wants to date, and she turns down like 16 people a week. Anyway, but when the next person to confess to you is Nanami herself, has her shoujo romance finally begun? Okay, so this is the most complicated show I've gotten of the season, which is kind of interesting because it was the one at the top. You could blatantly think that I low-key bribed John to get this fucking show. So, it was the one I was the most excited about, and now it's the most divisive of everything I had because I don't know what the fuck to do with this thing. Mostly because there's a lot of really good points to it, one being its animation quality. The show is very pretty. Very, very pretty. Some of the eye transitions that they do in this show are kind of god tier. The opening is also really nice. Lots of flower imagery. The song's really nice. Production in the show is just really good. Now, when it comes to the story and characters itself, that's where things get a little bit wishy-washy for me. Mostly because, from what I read of the synopsis, and maybe this was my fault, I thought that, and from what I've heard from others, because people have told me, wow, the show moves way too fast, is that these two are going to get together from the get-go. That does not happen. So if you don't want any spoilers, I'd say for the first 3 episodes, I'm about to ruin every single one of them because I need to explain how I feel. So if you're not a big fan of that, maybe skip ahead like 2 to 5 minutes or something. But anyway, the first episode of the show, I agreed with everybody. It seemed very quick. They set up the 2 characters, the 2 main girls, meeting each other, Yu and Nanami, her confiding in her. And then suddenly out of nowhere, Nanami confesses. And I was like, wow, damn, show hit the goddamn accelerator. Then we get to episode 2 and we pretend that the confession never fucking happened. And that was extremely frustrating to me because both characters don't talk to each other and don't learn how to communicate at all. And then eventually they do talk about it again, I guess, and then Nanami kisses her for some reason. And then that also is brushed off because why not? And then during the entire time, up until the point that Nanami basically tells her, hey, I really do like you, there's this very weird tension between them that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
A little awkward.
You could put it up to people just not being able to talk, but I'm sorry, if someone lays one on me, I'm probably going to have some questions the next day. But they just kind of do this weird thing where they don't talk to each other, and when they finally do, Nanami says, I really like you, and Yu says, I don't really like you that way, and then Nanami says, well, can I just, keep loving you anyway? which is weird and doesn't make a whole lot of damn sense. And then the entirety of the rest of that episode plus episode 3, Yu is kind of just a horrible person, which you probably could have figured that out after she left a poor guy sitting for 3 months, 3 to 4 to God knows how many months over a fucking love confession she never answered. But she literally rubs this crush Nanami has on her in her face multiple times. One of those times being that Nanami went and bought her a souvenir. She brought it to her house, and she's like, well, why did you show up today? What if I wasn't home? And she's like, I would have just given it to you at school then. And she's like, well, then why didn't you do that? Is it because you like me? And she's like, yeah, I like you a whole lot. And then you just gives her the smug look like, well, that's nice. And she's just... And then they have this really nice, heartfelt conversation in the 3rd episode where Yu realizes that Nanami is really anxious and upset and confused about the student council president role she's running for, that Yu's helping for her completely, totally not against her will, by the way. And she realizes she's super nervous, and she takes her out, and there's this really heartfelt moment where Nanami kind of breaks down and says, yeah, the reason why I act this way is because I basically had, change my entire personality to be someone that people wanted to be friends with and rely on. And it's really hard to keep up that facade all the time. And she's like, but I'll show that to you because, I care about you so much. I'm so in love with you. And there's this beautiful, pristine scene. And in that moment, the show almost got me.
Did it?
Oh, I'm getting there. Hold on.
Ooh.
Then Yu gets in front of the entire student body to deliver her speech to try and, talk about how, Nanami's this great person and she should be elected. And while she's saying all these nice things, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm getting into it. She's being such a bitch to her in her head. She's like, wow, you're just so weak. You're so weak that you only need me to be strong, basically.
Huh.
And I'm like, wow, why are you being such a jerk? And that's the problem. Like, Yu is just such a jerk to Nanami. And Nanami isn't much better either. She's kind of creepy, following around this girl who has no feelings for her. So I've been told that there's payoff at some point. I've been told this is leading up to something, but as of so far, it just seems very sloppy. And I don't know if I was either of these girls. I'm not sure why one of them is still into the other. The only thing that I could find interesting about this show is if you, and I saw another reviewer mention this before, but if you had ended up being like an ace character.
I was thinking the same thing.
Which I think would be really cool because, she never felt anything for, boys, but then a girl confesses to her and she doesn't feel anything either. But that's obviously not where this is going to go. I've already basically had it told to me that, the girls get together somehow at some point. And that she falls madly in love with her and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that, ace people can't fall madly in love with people, but it's just very, less likely. Especially since there's been nothing that's been said that she definitely is an ace character.
Yeah.
So it sucks. I was so looking forward to this show being good, and it almost got me at the end of episode 3, but Yu is just such a detestable character. She's just so mean for no reason.
Yeah.
I'll open up the floor to people who also have watched the show, but for now, I'm just going to go ahead and let it sink into the lovely flower petals that are in the opening. There's a lot of different lovely flower petals. There's a lot of flower petals that are going around this season, guys. I think that it's a harmless show. I don't think it's as toxic as other things like Citrus have been, or other Yuri shows, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a very believable couple at this point in time for me as of episode 3, and the characters aren't likable on either end enough for me to care.
Yeah.
Now, I could be completely wrong. I haven't dropped the show yet. I might watch a few more episodes, but I don't know. There's nothing here so far that is intriguing or different, or even just a good romance. It seems actually, as much as people try and praise this as not toxic, I have not seen anything that isn't toxic yet. I don't know how not talking to each other and just being mean and stalkerish is positive, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Write us an email. But it's just, nothing's really happening except two characters not talking to each other and it just being really awkward and if not mean, so
It's interesting with the art. Like I've seen the first episode and then maybe half of the second episode. And in like the delicate art and certain things, I was like, this reminds me of Horomusuko a little bit. And then I got to episode 2 and I was like, this reminds me of Horomusuko if Horomusuko was hollow and boring. Just based off of my impressions. Where it's very soft and it's trying to do things, but like a lot of the impact that I found in Horomusuko, I couldn't find much to latch onto in this show. Granted, I only saw like that little bit of it, but I think that, yeah, I'd agree with what your impressions sound like, and it doesn't sound like it really does a lot more to grab you in further episodes.
I mean, and a lot of people like this show. If there's one thing that I've seen this season is I could be wrong. I don't like Bunny Girl Senpai. A shit ton of people do. I can't say that I'm really in love with Bloom Into You, but a lot of people are. And I think that part of that, and this is just me talking, I'm not saying this is how everybody feels, but I think people just find it so refreshing that the girls aren't raping each other in episode 1, that their standards are a little bit lower.
Well, considering that talk we had about the My Hime ship, I mean, I'm inclined to agree a bit there.
And I can actually bring John in on this one, because I think that he said that one of the things he found refreshing about the show is that it wasn't like super rapey or whatever, like a lot of Yuri unfortunately can be, especially mainstream Yuri can be. But how did you feel about it? Did you find something in these episodes that I didn't? Like, do you want to have your 2 cents before we move on? Do you disagree with me?
I've been reading the manga, and therefore I'm quite a bit ahead of where the anime currently is in the story. I started reading it because of a recommendation from a friend of the podcast, and then, like, also because it was again anime, so I was like, I want to find out what this is about, and started reading it ahead of time, and I really latched onto it with the manga, but the manga was already ahead of where the anime the 3 episodes that we've been talking about. By the time I got caught up, so initially anyway. So for that reason, my enjoyment of it might be slightly jarred. Because I'm like, oh yes, this is when this happened, and like seeing the hints of things to come, that I really enjoyed. So it might just be like I'm really enjoying just seeing it animated. And all the pretty is therefore just pretty eye candy that I'm just lapping up. But yeah, part of it is just like, yes, finally a Yuri that's not super rapey or anything. Because it's like, why did it all need to be edgy and toxic? Why did it need to do that? But this one's not doing that. Well, I suppose the way that you've put it, with like Bonkel not really just having feelings for one and just like not caring what they feel about her in return. And yeah, you can sometimes have a bit of an attitude, but I think that's not so much she has an attitude, she's just indifferent at the moment.
But being indifferent to somebody who's in love with you is kind of a bitchy thing to do, don't you think?
What gets me about this is, man, is it pretty, but I went in thinking it was one thing and I got another thing, and Yu's personality and just the flippant, like, I love you, okay. Also, can I still love you? Yeah, sure.
By the way, I'm gonna rub it in your
Okay.
face at every opportunity I get, though.
I'm just like, the fuck? What, like, you could turn the girl down if you don't feel it. Like, you don't lead a girl on. That's kind of fucked up, dog. Come on.
I think some people would argue, but she didn't lead her on because she said no, and I'm like, but you still let her hang around you. You still let her have that disposition of love for you, and then it would be different if she completely tried to ignore it, but she rubs it in her face sometimes. She's just like, so you really do love me, don't you? And she's like, yeah, I do. And she's like,
Yeah,
Yes,
that part's
right.
interesting, and I'd want to see. Because I was thinking about it, and I was like, I mean, I understand being a stupid teenager and, like, not knowing how to turn somebody down. I've been that person, but, like, actively, rubbing it in someone's face. Yeah, that just seems like a little much.
And what reason did she
Yeah.
have to blatantly call her, like, a weak, pathetic, awful person when all she did was, like, confide in her 2 minutes earlier?
So what I'm hearing here is all y'all want, and I haven't seen / read this, but all y'all want is just a full fleshed out anime adaptation of Kaze-san
Please.
instead of this.
Please.
Yeah, that would be great. Yes, please.
Also, very quickly, I do think the show is very pretty, but I think that they, like, hook onto the color orange a little too much.
Oh, they do. It's kind of saturated.
Like, I kind of got, like, it was still pretty, but I got kind of tired of everything being so fucking orange.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Cass. It's not as edgy as Netsuzo Trap or Citrus, but yeah, they're still kind of bitchy to each other, and it's not as...
Well, it's like, you is bitchy, but Nanami is just kind of creepy. Because she's like, oh,
Yeah.
I love you, I'm gonna follow you and kiss you when I know that you're not sure how you feel, and follow you around and show up at your house randomly.
Listen, she'll get her eventually. We just gotta wait. Episode 6.
I mean, like, if let's just put it this way, if this was a heterosexual relationship, like, a bunch of people would find this way more creepy.
Probably.
And that's the thing,
Yeah,
like, I feel
society
like
would
all
say that.
different couples should be held to the same standard, and I don't understand, at this point, watching the first 3 episodes, why people think that this is a fluffy and, well,
Cute.
like, a good representation of a positive lesbian relationship, because they don't talk to each other, they push emotions on each other that they shouldn't, they mess with each other's feelings, they call each other mean things in their head while they're also simultaneously saying a bunch of nice things. And there's a difference between, yes, sexual assault is awful, but that doesn't mean being a little less awful makes you better.
Or even just, like, up to standard. It shouldn't be the standard.
Exactly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
they're not treating each other like people, in my personal opinion. And that shouldn't matter whether you're straight, gay, ace, or pansexual. So
Fair enough.
that's just how I feel about it. Maybe the manga's better. Maybe I will try out the manga. But if they still act like this in the first part of the manga, I probably would be just as frustrated.
Fair enough.
But we've been
There you
going
go.
on about Bloomin' to You for a while.
Oh, yeah, nope,
Can
fill
we?
in time. That's all right. The last show that I'm going to talk about that, I just have to fill in some time with is Tsurune, Kazemai, Koukou, Kyuudoubu, otherwise known as Archery Boys. This is animated by Studio KyoAni, and as soon as they released a PV months ago, everybody was like, ooh, it's free, but with archery. And we'll get into that. But before we do, the story follows Minato Narumiya. Minato played Japanese archery in middle school, but after a certain incident, he ran away from the sport. In high school, Minato meets new friends, and together, as part of their school's archery club, they aim to win the prefectural tournament. So you know how, like, basic that synopsis sounds? That's kind of my whole issue with this show. It's just a very paint by numbers sports anime about these high school boys. And while I do not think, I've heard a lot of people say that the art reminds them of Free, which I think is total bullshit. It does not look like Free. They, like, the characters themselves are so hollow, and all you can see is, like, the Free archetypes in them. Like, the dickish character is just the dickish character. There's your Rin. You have the, like, Shota guy who's very charismatic. There's your Nagisa. The only difference is that Nagisa and Rin are hanging out and are childhood friends and may get together this time. And then you've got, like, two characters that are like Makoto, but one of them might have a secret yandere side, and one of them's kind of Genki all the time, and the main guy is absolutely like Haru, except he literally has less personality because he's not sexually attracted to water. He's just a he's just a sad stoic boy who we don't get a whole lot about. I know that, like, his mom died, and he cooks for his dad in their house, which is cool, and he used to be into archery, and they say, like, a certain incident led him to be like, oh, I'm not going to do archery again. Also, I'm so tired of this trope of, like, this person who is very talented at something, and then they're like, yeah, let's form a club, and then they're like, no, I can't do it. Like, I was initially kind of even, like, a little bit like, come on with Run with the Wind when they did that, but they've done a great job executing the backstory and how it led to that in the first place. In this case, like, Minato, they went to a tournament and he started sucking, and it's this thing called target panic, which actually I think is, like, a thing in archery, so that's really cool, but it's basically that, like, he sucked once and now he, like, can't hit targets like he used to. Oh no, but there's, like, no real reason why behind it. It just happened. A lot of the drama in this just feels like it's there to be there. Like, his target panic is just there to be there. The friends being so invested in, oh my god, we have to get Minato on the archery team, is there to be there. And I've just been kind of bored, I'm gonna be honest. And the art, while it's KyoAni, I think it's, like, outside of scenery, which is beautiful, I think that it's subpar. I don't like the character designs. I don't like their teeny little simple faces. I wanted it to be a little better. There is also, like, a dog in this show, but this dog doesn't stand up to Nira. Like, I think the other problem is that I have Run with the Wind and this.
Yeah.
And, like, Run with the Wind just is hoops and leaps and bounds more interesting than Tsurune. So all I've really paid attention to while watching Tsurune has been kind of my setbacks. The one good thing that I really like about this show, and it came out of nowhere, at the end of the first episode, Mr. Target Panic Boy is like, I don't even know how he gets here, but he gets to this shrine at night, and then all of a sudden, like, everything is bathed in, like, blue moonlight, and there are, like, leaves blowing in the wind. And you see this older gentleman who is beautiful, who has, like, blue hair and a ponytail, and he's dressed in these, like, traditional, like, archery robes, and he's got an owl on his shoulder, and, like, he hits the target, and the Minato is just, like, you know, transfixed by him. And I'm just like, ooh, okay, here's this really interesting, like, beautiful potential older mentor character. That's interesting. I kind of like that. And the show in the next two episodes kind of runs parallel between your standard, like, high school archery club kind of bullshit, and then fun times with Mr. Owlman, which is what I am interested in. I like that dynamic. There's even a cute joke in one episode about that character being a ghost, and, like, the way that it plays out is super cute. And I was like, this is fun. I kind of ship it, but that's not going to happen because of the way things play out. And for a while I was like, can Mr. Owlman carry this show? But I think the truth of the matter is no. This show I just think is really boring and is very basic. Some people have liked it so far, but I think, especially when we already have Run with the Wind, I don't feel the need to pass what I consider to be a more subpar sports anime. So this show is going to sink in Who's White Feathers, because I forgot to mention the owl's name is Who. W-H-O. Who.
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 Well, alrighty then. It goes back to me now.
Yeah.
For the final two shows that me and John are going to talk about. Last show here that I got is Double Decker, Doug and Kirill. The studio is Sunrise. Again, if you don't know who they are or what they've done, then educate yourself, motherfucker. They've done Gundam, they've done Geoff, they do the idols, the Love Live idols. They also did the original Tiger and Bunny, which this is a loose set in the same world, but loosely. So, the city-state of Lisvaleta, two suns rise above the city, and the people here live in peaceful lives. But in the shadows, crime and illegal drugs run rampant. Among them is the dangerous, highly lethal drug Anthem, not the video game, which casts a dark shadow over the city. The 7-0 Special Crimes Investigation Unit specializes in cracking down on Anthem. This unit operates in 2 main buddy teams, in which is called the double-decker system, to tackle the problem. Doug Billingham is a seasoned investigator, and joining him is Kirill Vrubel, whose abilities are mysterious and unknown. Why'd I chose this? Again, this is another show that kind of falls in line with the JoJo, where it's just like, it's fun to watch. It's, again, as the description has pointed out, it's a veteran cop with a rookie cop, and it's their dynamics. Want to let you know, within the first 3 episodes, they get together. Then in episode 2, Kirill has to prove himself because apparently their boss, Travis, voiced by Kiritsugu from Fate Zero, by the way, I just want to let you know that. Yeah, he their boss, Travis, is like, oh, I let you on the force, but we don't have the space for you, so you're fired. So Kirill has to prove himself by stopping, like, an Anthem, like, smuggling sort of thing, and it's a front dealing with like workers union in a factory. Episode 3, they introduce more of the buddy system with the other units. They have a female squad and another rookie, which apparently like was the last slot available. Her name is Kay, and she's with a twin-tailed girl, and they introduce their dynamics. They have another double-decker system with a robot lady and a blonde lady. Mind you, this show is fun. I feel as though it's got the energy. It's nothing too serious to, like, write home about. It's just essentially trying to stop crime on a surface level, and then they mention offhandedly, like, in the first 3 episodes, mind you, I've watched more of this, so in the first 3 episodes, they mentioned this organization called Esperanza and how it's like a big criminal organization dealing with Anthem. Anthem, obviously, if you like, it's patches, kind of like nicotine patches, but if you slap it on your skin, then you turn into a horrible monster. And then the point of the 7-0 unit is to try and use these anti-AMS bullets, which essentially shoots a fucking buttload of like antibodies into your system to essentially counteract the Anthem. It's a pretty cool looking bullet. So, it's fun. It should not be taken too seriously. I hear some of the episodes later kind of are like, but it's pretty cool to know that one of the characters, Doug, his reason for being a cop is he wants to try and like eliminate the class system, like in terms of like economics and sort of shit like that. And Kirill's shtick to being a cop is he wants to be a superhero, y'all, but he also wants to try and find his sister. So I'm having fun with this, but again, this kind of falls in line with what I said earlier, where I have a crop of shows that are actually pretty good, but I want something that stands out. So this show sinks. I looked at the score on my anime list literally of like 30 minutes ago, and surprisingly, this show has like a 6.8 versus your Tiger and Bunny set in the same universe again, which has an 8.5 or something like that. So it's interesting to see the ratings already drop for this show. Again, sinks, but not. It sinks under a pile of Anthem patches, which would horribly mutate this show. But I just want you to know that I'm gonna still keep watching this, and probably will talk to y'all offhandedly off pod to see how it fares out. I do definitely need to go back and watch Tiger and Bunny. I've only watched half of that show.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you'd seen that.
Yeah, I've only seen half of it, and that show actually deals with an interesting aspect of superheroes, kind of like My Hero does. My Hero, like Tiger and Bunny, deals with sponsorships and how superheroes can do damage control and essentially be like, yo, if you fuck up ratings-wise, then you're not going to get sponsored, and you will not get all the high-tech and will not be covered for all of the shenanigans that you cause. Versus Double Decker, which is a cop show with cool cars and fancy guns, essentially, that stop drugs. So,
Okay.
that's all I got. John, finish this show off with your show you're probably going to pass anyway. Fucking Sword Art Online. Go.
Before you start, can I ask a question?
Right.
Me or him?
Him. So, how has your
Okay.
Alicization been? Have you gotten it checked out? Or have you gotten some shots
Alicization.
or some antibiotics for your Alicization?
Alicization.
Alicization. You didn't answer the question.
You didn't. What the fuck?
How is your Alicization?
I'm getting there.
I hope it's not infected.
Sword Art Online Alicization. Animation by A1 Pictures, who have done Aono Exorcist, Shigatsu wa Kimi no Uso, Erased. I could have read out the Japanese title, but meh. Synopsis goes: where am I? Before he knows it, Kirito has made a full dive into an epic, fantasy-like world. With only a murky recollection of what happened right before he logged in, he starts to wander around searching for clues. He comes upon an enormous, pitch-dark tree, the Giga Cedar, where he encounters a boy. My name is JoJo. Nice to meet you, Kirito. Although he is supposedly a resident of the virtual world, an NPC, the boy shows the same array of emotions as any human being. As Kirito bonds with JoJo, he continues to search for a way to log out of this world. Meanwhile, he remembers a certain memory deep down within him. He remembers racing through the mountains with JoJo as a child, a memory that he should not have in the first place. And in this memory, he sees someone other than JoJo, a young blonde girl. Her name is Alice, and it is a name that must never be forgotten. Dun dun dun!
Are we sure her last name isn't Ization? Is that how this title came to be?
The project
Alicization.
behind the game is called Alicization. It's just
Alicization.
It's just apparently a big coincidence that Alice is called Alice, and the project is
Here's the
also
twist.
called
She's the MacGuffin of the
Alicization.
fucking game.
She kind of is, from
Yeah.
what they're setting it up to be. So yeah, Sword Art Online Season 3.
You're fucking gonna swim this show. You're over the moon.
I have been looking forward to this since Season 2 aired, in all honesty. Because I'd actually read up to the first volume of Alicization with the light novels after Season 1 ended. And so throughout Season 2 and throughout the movie, I've just been picking up on hints towards this season coming out, and just been hyping myself up for it. But I've still been somewhat hesitant to just swim this, because I know I am biased, and I also know it's a year-long series. It's going to be 4 cours.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So, that's making me somewhat hesitant on swimming this. Plus, there's the whole thought of, do you really need to watch all of Sword Art Online before this to get what's going on? It would probably help. It doesn't really reference previous series too much. There's a couple of things from mostly from Phantom Bullet that leads into this, and beyond that you can probably get away. It does make some references back to Fairy Dance, the second half of Season 1, But that's mostly in the parallels of the situation between, only with the situation being reversed between Kirito and Asuna. Whereas before it was Asuna being trapped in a game and Kirito needing to find a way of saving her. This time, Kirito is the one that ends up vanished and trapped in a virtual world, with Asuna needing to find him and figure out a way of saving him.
And there is no explanation, at least in the first 3 episodes, as to why he's in this game. This boy gets into these virtual reality games too much. I'm surprised he does, at a certain point, it's like, I've had enough of this shit. I'm done.
If I understand correctly, from what little I know, this current game is not something he's participating in of his own free will, as far as I'm aware.
Actually, the reason why he gets put in the game is in episode 1. They just don't explain why in episode 1. It does get explained. It has been explained in the latest episode because I have continued watching it beyond the first 3 episodes. Spoilers for that, but I do think this is a series that, for the most part, people can just jump in here and really enjoy it. It is a bit of a shame that Asuna isn't in the game with him, but I feel she gets to be a badass outside of the game in various ways anyway. I think if you've seen the movie, that'll probably help as well, because that has a lot of setup towards the towards this, and that'll introduce all the characters as well. But yeah, for the most part, the characters that you're going to be interacting the most with are Kirito, Asuna, and Yujo. They're the 3 characters that you're going to be seeing the most throughout this series, really. So, as it currently is, anyway. So, for that reason, I am going to swim this, because I do want everyone else's opinions on this, and if anyone wants me to fill them in on any blanks and save them from going through all the previous series, I'm more than willing to.
Okay.
Save you all having to watch watch through previous series if you really don't want to. I do feel like, from what I read in the novels, this is some of the best writing in Sword Art Online. So far.
Okay.
Kirito he's not actually overpowered, I don't feel. He's skilled, and, that makes sense because he does have all of his memories from previous games, especially Aincrad. So, yeah. I feel like it makes sense for him to be as strong as he is, and he gets hurt, and it hurts him, and he's actually shocked by how much it hurts him, and almost fucking dies at one point. So, yeah, I don't think he's overpowered. So, yeah. But anyway, that's Alicization so far, and, yeah, I'm swimming it.
Okay, so I'm going to take the mic from Craig really fast to go through everything we swam for the season and everything we sank very quickly in lightning fashion. Kimi, being the destroyer of this season, cast 1 show, and that was Kaze ga Tsuyoku Fuiteiru. I can't fucking talk. Run with the Wind. Good shit. That's what she passed, and I'm so excited that it fucking survived. Moving on. I passed 2 shows for the season. Release the Spice and Irozuku Sekai no Ashita Kara, also known as The World in Colors. John passed Zombieland Saga and SAO, Sword Art Online, Alicization. Continuing on, Craig passed SSSS.Gridman and Puppets Fighting Evil Season 2, also known as Thunderbolt Fantasy Season 2. Those are all the shows we swam for the season. We've swam 2, 4, 6, 7 shows. A lot less than we normally do.
Yeah,
I'm proud of us.
I was going to be like, dang, slim pickings. Go us.
Yep. Then the shit we sank for the season. I sank Seshun Buta Yaru wa Bunny Girl Senpai no Yume wo Minai, and also Ore ga Suki nano wa Imoto Dakedo Imoto Janai, and Yagate Kimi ni Naru. And then, basically, Cami sunk everything else she had. Kishuku Gakko no Juliet, Beelzebub-jou no Okinimesu Mama, Daka... Why do you have all the fucking long named one? Dakara da 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 da, Otoko Ichi Odo Sarate Imasu. However you frickin' say that. And Tsurune. Kazemai Koukou Kyuudoubu. If you needed a refresher on all the things she had. And Craig sank Sora to Umi no Aida, also known between the sky and the sea, I think. Double Decker, Doug and Kirill, and JoJo's Part 5. And John sank Rewrited, Koukou Koe no Darida, Toaru Majutsu no Index 3, and Ingress the Animation.
Dun, da, da, da. That's a shit ton of shows, folks. If you think we missed something, please send us an email if there's something you really want us to check out at anniechatmail@gmail.com. We may consider it.
Uh-huh.
I think somebody commented on one of our YouTube videos about the sumo wrestling anime, and I just completely forgot about it.
I watched the first 2 episodes of that show.
If you want to give, like, a very short, like, feeling on it, like, either now or the next time we record, you can definitely do that for them.
I'll do it right now.
Okay, go! Shotgun impression.
First 2 episodes. Hey, it's a sumo sports show. It's okay. Very okay. The animation's very I think it's basically about a guy who's too good for his own good. Twist on this. Sumo guys are tall, fat guys. The main character is a short, fucking jacked guy who looks like he got fucking fought a bear on a mountain. He's got battle scars all over his body. And this is kind of like the whole Kagami situation for Kuroko, where he'll get humble and actually learn how to play with the team. He pretty much wins without even trying in the first couple episodes. And to be quite honest, much akin to Kami with Tsurune Archery Boys, this show is very okay. There are better sports shows out there. After the first 2 episodes, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I've seen what I need to see, and I'd rather watch Run with the Wind, or Kuroko, or Haikyuu. So, not to knock that, I don't remember the production company offhand.
Do you remember what the name of the show was?
Hinomaru Zumo, I believe it was?
Yes.
Yes. So, there you go.
Good to know.
Yeah. Actually, I have a quick bullet one I could do for the show Karakuri Circus, which I checked out the first episode of.
Oh, Zach likes that.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot of good praise, and I can see why. It's got really badass choreographed fight scenes. It has great music, really interesting premise, as it's like a shonen, but with like circus and puppet elements. I don't think it did enough for me to like stick with it, but if you're really gunning for like a unique shonen and one that's well produced with an amazing opening by Bump of Chicken, go check it out. It's streaming on Amazon.
Nice.
I think that's it for now.
You want to talk about Honda-san?
Do we want to talk about... do we really quickly want to talk about Honda-san for those who have watched it?
It's a show that none of us put on our goddamn list, but goddamn it if it's not pleasant.
Oh, yeah, no, Honda-san is great. I love Honda-san. If we decide later to do a lifeboat, that's my campaign.
Yep.
I mean, you only passed 1 show for the season, so...
You know, fuck it. Yep, let's add that to my list because I was brutal. We're adding Honda-san. I swam it. It's great. It's a special yaoi book.
Random lifeboat of the season.
Yes.
There you go.
Perfect.
Everything's going crazy right now. We're doing reviews we didn't know we were going to do. We're passing shows we didn't know we were going to pass. I have 3 seasons of Sword Art Online to watch. Let's go.
Let's do it. Bring it.
All right. And that's been episode 87 of Annie Chatbox. Have a good night, y'all. Take it easy.
Muffin, muffin.
Bye-bye.
Muffin, muffin.
Special yaoi book.
Special yaoi book.
Mommy.
Mommy.